so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Butchester. You know what I'd like to do on my show. I want to enlighten, inspire, and empower you to be your best self. Now, Scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And today we want to get you fired up about spiritual enlightenment. My guest today is Gail Knox, and we're talking about her book, Advancing in Enlightenment, the Crash Course. So you know what I'm going to tell you to do. Go on, get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee or get your tea, because we are about to get started. Good morning, Gail. Thank you so much for joining me on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela today.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm so glad I got an invitation.
Absolutely. I'm so glad to be able to talk to you as well. I love talking to people who do one of those three things, if not all three, and I definitely believe that you are trying to put your best forward to enlighten, inspire, and empower others. Now, as is the practice around here, we always give our guests an opportunity to introduce themselves to perhaps a few people out there that may be unfamiliar with you. So if you could please, can you let us know what makes Gail Gail? What makes you you?
Well, I grew up in Chicago up to the age of 8, and then we moved to the suburbs. So suburb of Chicago growing up, and I'm wound up in the little village of Richmond, Illinois, 3 miles from the Wisconsin border. I've studied this stuff since this is one of my passions. So I have been studying spiritual alignment since the age of 14, when my sister Madeline gave me this first Seth book, and I just couldn't put it down, and I just kept collecting all the books that came out, and today I thought it should all be put in a book, so here I am.
I love it. You know, it's really interesting how some people do know at an early age. I've done webinars, speaking engagements, events, and people ask me that question, when did you know? And it's like, well, I think I've always known. But at 16, I kind of had an official conversation, and that's when it kind of cemented what I knew I would be doing in the future. So I do understand age 14, that's spot on as far as I'm concerned about knowing what direction you really want to go in. I understand that. So being an author, is that something that you've always wanted to do, or did you find that that was just the next thing along your life path?
Well, it was because all this information I was gathering, I finally felt like I had it all, and the journey to gather it all, and all the books that it took, and then I had all the information. I said, well, a lot of people aren't going to have all this information, and I think it should be in a book so I could share it. And that's how I got it to be an author. And there's so much more information that I've uncovered that it seems like I'm going to be writing.
You know, I think that when you have been called to be an author, and especially when you're writing on the subject matter that you're writing on, I think books just continue to kind of flow from you, because you can never stop sharing that wealth of information that you have deep inside, because every time you discover something new, your spirit, your personality says, I've got to tell everybody about this. I can't hold on to this, you know. I've got to let everyone know.
That's so true. So that's hitting the nail on the head.
You know, people sometimes they're frightened by certain words, but you know, I understand collective consciousness is a beautiful thing. If I know, I want to share it with you. I want to tell everyone that I know, and within that group, there's going to be those who want to go and keep sharing it. And it's like, absolutely, inform the community. Everyone needs to know, especially when it comes to making ourselves the best version of ourselves. Now, the title of the book, Advancing in Enlightenment, the Crash Course. I love that. Why did you choose those words to give us as a title for your book?
Well, the Advancing Enlightenment that just came, and it fit perfect for all this information, because with everything you read, you just kept advancing. And the crash course is because I picked out just the most profound information, and it flows throughout the book, just bits and pieces of it. Only gives you portions of everything that's out there. So you're getting a crash course of everything that's out there. And then my second book, I'll delve deeper into all those concepts. But right now, it's just a touchstone, and it's a guide to the channels if you don't know who they are, and it's presented in such a way that if you've not known it, the first time you read it, you'll understand it, because it's written in such a way for the understanding of, for the first person that reads it will understand it.
And thank you for answering that way, because that was going to be a question, like, who is the ideal reader? So anyone who's interested can pick up a copy. But when it comes to age group, do you think that it is simple enough for perhaps a teenager or young adult to be able to grasp the concepts as well?
Oh, yeah. I've given it to my grandkids, and they all love it. So, and some have given it to their friends. So I know it's fine for them, and I'm hoping that the older generation can put aside some of their limiting beliefs and open up can, well, with all the information they get, and it's reinforced, through science, scientific studies and stuff like that. So you should be able to have some, stamina or whatever to choose a better belief that's better for you if your old beliefs are not serving your best and highest good.
Absolutely. I can understand what you mean by that, and that's true. I think we should be, again, ever growing, and as we grow and mature in our faith, we are going to learn new things, and it is going to cause us to kind of challenge some old things that we've been taught. So I think that's amazing. So hey, you guys, you now have a challenge. I love that, for you to grow and expand yourself for this year. Now, my next question for you is dealing with some terms that people may not be familiar with. So if you could please kind of explain a little bit more in depth, and that is, you talk about the mechanics of light and dark energy, but there are some deeper spiritual meanings to the contrast between the two of them. Can you, for people that are unfamiliar with those terms, what does that mean?
Well, our world is one of contrast. You got wealth and poverty, the rich and the poor. There's togetherness and there's loneliness. You have people that live a life of abundance in all things, and those who live lacking much of what they want. And these opposites are what contrast is. The light and the dark is translated as what's positive and negative in our world. And throughout the ages of experiencing these things, humanity has learned about preferences. The world today was shaped by preferences of those who came before us. As we shape the world for our children will do the same for their children, and on that goes. But on a personal level, at some point, a person will become aware of what they prefer. They'll choose to work at a job they love instead of one they hate and only working there for the paycheck. They'll love to walk in the woods, so they will move near a forest. And those that love the water is going to live near a lake or by the coast. And it's this learning process of knowing what you don't like that allows you to know and appreciate more the things you do like. And that raises your internal vibration. Appreciation is a godly emotion and number one on the emotional guidance scale. And it's all connected to the spiritual aspect of yourself. We also received a divine gift for having to go through and experience contrast, and that's the gift that a free will gives us, and the ability to choose what we prefer. And these things are presented throughout the book, but not explained quite this way, I guess because I've never been asked so much like this. So thank you.
Absolutely. And I love how you are using more scientific expression there, and you're saying, there's positive and there's negative. The same way that we look on a battery, there's a plus and there's a minus. It's not not the way that many times that we think of things in the Western world as good and bad. You know, like, oh, if you do this, then that's a good thing. If you do that, that's a bad thing. But that there are positives and negatives in everything that we do, and do we want to push or do we want to pull? You know, do we
absolutely
repel? So I love that. And sometimes we do need to, you know, push things away from us, repel those things that are no longer good for us, but definitely attract those things that are good. I love that answer. Now, you talk about something referred to as an emotional guidance scale. I like that. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, the deeper meaning comes from the way you practice it and apply it to your life. You would want to stay focused within the emotions numbered 1 through 7 that's in my book. I was listening to one of Abraham's rampages recently on YouTube, and a question was asked for us. If God could speak to us right now, what would he say? And the response was, come closer, come closer. Well, I thought about that and wondered, how are you going to get closer? But the answer immediately came to me. Practice the first 7 emotions on the scale. It couldn't answer this question better. The first 7 are godly emotions and would bring me to the same vibrational level to match the frequency God emits. It would bring me very much closer. And no matter what you've been told, our Creator does not possess any of the emotions numbered 8 through 22. Our God is of the highest light, where any trace of darkness is obliterated. You know, from 8 to 22, you start on the path of negative emotion or into darkness. So what I would do is I'd find something that I loved to bring me joy. I'm passionate about playing my guitar, so I'd grab it. I'd play my favorite song. I'd find appreciation in all that surrounds me because I love where I'm at. I'd enthusiastically call my grandkids, telling them to come over for a surprise, and wait, you know, eagerly for them to come and be so happy to see them. And I'd be in total contentment to see them enjoying those brownies I baked and how they love hot chocolate. And those are all feel-good emotions. And in that state of being, you're as close to God as you can get. And you know you're close because you feel it in your heart. That's God's love being extended to you.
Oh, I love that.
I know. It makes me cry when I think about it.
Oh, yes, because it makes me think about the holidays. And I know that we used to, when I was a little girl, we had the tradition of everyone showed up at my grandmother's house. It didn't matter where you lived. You came to grandmother at least once a year, and it was for Christmas time. A huge house so everyone could fit. And I just remember feeling the love.
Joy. That sounds so joyful. You know, a gathering like that.
Yes. And I realized that as I got older, it dawned on me that not everyone had the same experience. When people say, oh, I don't like Christmas, or, oh, Christmas is so commercialized, and, you know, on, and I was going, huh? What do you mean? Sure, we purchased presents for each other, but it was really more about the coming together, and like you said, the joy that everyone had in helping to make a dish for another person, you know, having that meal, and just that togetherness. I love how you explained that. I think you're really, you know, opening the eyes of so many people that are listening out there. Now, we have about a minute left in this segment, but I wanted to ask you, you have studied spirit for so long, and you have come to better explain attributes and how we can discover a spirit in our lives for ourselves. How did you talk about understanding messages that Holy Spirit shares with us?
Well, I've been reading the books from channels, the channels that are featured in my book since I was 14. That was around 1970. My oldest sister, Madeline, gave me the first one, Jane Roberts, the Seth material, and over the years, I'd buy the next 21 all by myself, and then I'd read my entire collection every 2 years. And then she gave me the first 3 Cryon books in 2002, and it wasn't long before I caught up to the 8 that were out at that time. And I was eating this information up. I definitely am passionate about learning this stuff, And it continued all the way to when the 14th book of Crying came out, and that was the same year I finished my book. But in the meantime, I found Esther Hicks in the Abraham book, Ask and It Is Given, in about 2004, right when that movie The Secret came out. I don't know if you remember that, but this book surpassed that movie. I was giving it to everybody that talked to me about it, and I'd give them my copy and just run out and buy another one. I thought everyone should own this book. And the Cryon books told us about our sacred DNA coming from the fifth dimensional Pleiadians, and Cryon mentioned that to the staff while channeling at the United Nations, where Lee had been invited to speak, and that a council of elders should be formed and have a place at the United Nations, and they should gather an elder to represent all the remaining indigenous tribes that still exist on the planet. And through this gathering, Lee got to talk to them. And there was an Eskimo, American Indian, Australian Aborigine, a South American Maya, the ancient tribes of Africa, and he got to ask them about their creation story. And they all pointed to the Seven Sisters, the formation of the star system in the Pleiadian star galaxy. So I set off to find Pleiadian knowledge, and I found Barbara Hand Clowes, The Pleiadian Agenda and the Alchemy of Nine Dimensions, which is the best explanation of the dimensions out there. And that's why I used her model to explain the dimensions in my book. And all that happened in 2004. And then I found Daryl Enka, who channeled Bashar, who is our fifth dimensional extraterrestrial first contact specialist, around 2008. And they answered all my remaining questions that I had. And then I thought, it took me this long to finally have all my questions answered, I should put everything that I learned into a book. And I started writing it in 2010, but there was 30 years of Bashar teachings out there, and I had just been introduced to it. And I was constantly rewriting chapters when I was discovering new information. And that changed what I had just written. So it was finished in 2014, and it took me 3 years to edit it and get all the permissions from the channels whose books I learned from. And it was ready to publish by 2017, but it's still so valuable for people who are just starting out on their spiritual journey or anyone else who doesn't have any metaphysical teachings.
Absolutely. I love that. And what a beautiful way to bring us all together when we can love and respect every culture and understand that each culture brings value to the table. I love that. Well, it is time for us to go to break. But before we do, Gail, can you remind everyone, please, what is the title of your book? Where can we get a copy? And how do we stay in contact with you?
The book is Advancing in Enlightenment, the Crash Course. It's available on Amazon and on my website, advancinginenlightenment.com. And to get in contact, there is a place on my website that says Contact Me. So that's it.
Great. All righty, everyone. Now you know where you can get a copy of the book. We'll be back right after this.
Hi everyone, Dr. Angela here. Did you know that Daily Spark is now on Facebook? That's right, you can visit with me at facebook.com/Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I want to know more about what you're thinking. I'd love to know which interview did you find the most entertaining or the most informative. I want to talk to you, and I want you to be able to talk to me. Simply visit facebook.com/Daily Spark with Dr. Angela.
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Butchester. My guest today is Gail Knox, and we're talking about her book, Advancing in Enlightenment, the Crash Course. So I know that I am enjoying my time with you today, Gail, and it's so refreshing to hear someone who is excited about sharing her knowledge and making sure that those who read their books, that they become inspired and enlightened as well. So thank you for doing that.
That's what its purpose was, so I'm fulfilling my purpose.
Absolutely. And, it's amazing how when you do walk in your purpose and you do what you've been called to do, it's so easy to do it, and you enjoy doing it as much as someone enjoys reading your findings or participating with you, because you know that it's genuine and it's heartfelt, and you can tell the difference. So thank you so much for that. Now, my next question for you is a subject that some people don't like to talk about, simply because people like to talk about living, but they don't like to talk about dying or any aspects of it, the afterlife, none of that. So it may be a little taboo for some folks. So if you can, please, if I'm asking too narrow of a question, please feel free to expound it the way that you see fit. But that is about reincarnation. Where does your explanation of reincarnation come from, and how is it different than perhaps some other ways that we've heard or understand reincarnation to be?
Well, first there was Jane Roberts with Seth saying, you share your soul with others. And that upset Jane to no end. She did not like the idea of sharing a soul, and there was no clear explanation for it. And I wouldn't get a clear explanation either until Bashar made it clear what reincarnation was. Now, Cryan presented the Akashic Records, teaching, but the concept still wasn't clear. So what the Bashar teaches is when an eternal soul decides to have a physical experience, it's done all at once through all the ages of time and space, which is at this point still what the other channels teach. But time and space are illusion in physical reality. And, our physical reality, their purpose is to allow a physical body to move through a third-dimensional physical reality. And that's all explained in my book. But the reality is all time exists at one time, at the same time, much the same way that you can watch unlimited programs on television just by changing the channels. The program doesn't stop just because you turned it off. It's still there. And a soul can have up to 1 to 10,000 lives throughout Earth's history, just as there are unlimited shows to watch on TV. A specific lesson is chosen, as well as however many lives are needed to complete the lesson. And many lessons can't possibly be learned in one lifetime. The progress is stored in the Akashic Records, so if part of the lesson is completed in one life, it doesn't have to be repeated in another. This is all done by the soul. It's not something that we have to do, but we're connected to it because we share the same soul DNA. And the DNA flowing through your body is multidimensional. When the lives are done, they return to the soul, where the majority of it is likened to a dream. So I'm reminded of the song, Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream, merrily, 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 life is but a dream, because that's exactly the truth of it. Our life, when we're finished with it, it will remain in your soul mostly as a dream.
What a beautiful way of explaining that. And I love the example with the television. Just because you change the channel, it doesn't make the show disappear or stop or pause or any of that. You simply change the channel, but if you go back, it is still there, and it's continuing to proceed forward or through its place in time. So I love that. I'm going to have to use that one as an explanation when someone asks. I like that. Now, there are many exercises that you mentioned, as well as meditations in your book. Two sides of a coin here. How did you determine which ones you wanted to include in the book? And then flip side, do you have a favorite?
Well, the ones that are included in the book are necessary ones to get you in a moving forward, when you're learning process. Every meditation and exercise there gets you to expand your awareness. It broadens your horizons. So they're placed right where they need to be so that you can move into, then learn more. You move into a higher space so you can broaden your horizons in that sense. But there is a healing meditation that I use on under page 14, and I'm always using this one, and this page has a bookmark in it. So after you've gotten into a meditative state where you're repeatedly slow breathing, you visualize whatever is bothering you is appearing as a black mass. I bring in the light from above and below, and I push it directly into the dark mass. The light changes it into either smoke or butterflies, and I simply brush it away. And done on a regular basis, you can eliminate any unwanted thing from your body. Meditation is a powerful thing. When you are quiet and your mind is still, you allow spirit proper communication. You're in a non-resistant state, and your inner being is allowed to work its magic on you.
I love it. Now, for someone who is unfamiliar with visualization techniques or exercises, what is maybe one or two things that can help them prepare to get ready to picture themselves in that relaxed state, doing that pressing down, allowing their mind's eye to see it turn into one form of the or the other, to be able to brush it away? How do they prepare themselves for that exercise?
Okay, well, the process is in the book, but we'll go through it. You take a sip of water, it calms you down, you get into a relaxed position, and you start to breathe. Your breath is connected to your eternal soul. When a baby is born, that eternal soul breathes the life into it, and it will stay with that person and breathe life through it until it's time to pass, and the soul will withdraw its breath, and then the body is dead. It no longer has life. So you are connecting with spirit when you are in meditative state. Spirit is breathing with you. So you take nice, deep, slow breaths, 5 counts through your nose, and hold it for 2, and let it go for 2, and then breathe out. You breathe out for 5, and then you stretch. You're going to relax your feet, and you're breathing slow, and at the same time, you're going to relax your feet. You're going to relax your calves. You're going to relax your knees and your thighs and your hips, your lower back, and your chest, and then your arms and your neck and your head. And you're going to find yourself in a very relaxed state so that you can relax and just quiet your mind and just listen to your breath. And then your spirit will take over and breathe for you.
I love that, and thank you so much for quickly going through that for our listeners, because I know that many of our listeners have also gone to see a therapist, and when we talk about anger management, and we're looking at some exercises that we do, and your therapist or your coach or your counselor tells you, we're going to self-assess and start at your toes, and then work your way up your body. Some people even start at the tops of their heads, so if your counselor starts at the top or at the bottom, however, but it is taking kind of that reading of your body, and it's like, let that tension go, relax, and allow yourself to be in that better state. I love that. Just only mentioning that to see how things really are interconnected, and when we do that, how we do feel so much better. That's why we want to get massages. We want to let that tension go. We can't wait to take that hot shower, that hot bath, to let that tension go.
I like that every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is so amazing how we do feel better when we do that exercise to let all of that tension go from our bodies. It has no purpose. So I tell you,
15 minutes of meditation can change your life.
It really can. It has been found to help people with chronic illness, with high blood pressure, with anxiety, with migraine headaches. All sorts of things. So it really, it truly is more than just, sitting cross-legged on the floor. It really and truly is good for your body, good for your mind, and good for spirit. I love that. Now, in your book, you talk about creating our own reality. I know that might be a foreign concept for someone. So, Gail, my next question for you is, in your book, when you say that we can create our own reality, there's more to it than just our own decision-making process, right? How do you create your own reality?
Well, your reality is created by your thoughts. Thoughts, they have a magnetic quality to them. And there's an old saying associated with it that says, that which is likened unto itself is drawn. And it lies at the basis of the universal law of attraction that Abraham teaches. Our physical world is created by the vibration of atoms. And if it's solid, the vibrations make it very slow. And if it's less dense and less dense object like steam and stuff, it has atoms vibrating a little faster. So when you think of something you want, your eternal soul immediately creates it in the non-physical realm, which Abraham calls your virtual or vibrational reality. So to get it from your vibrational reality into your hands takes focus, true desire, an ability to visualize what it looks like, but the clincher is to feel the way you would feel if you had it in your hands. Then you become a vibrational match to it, and it must appear in your reality. It is a universal law. And it's working all the time, whether you know it or not, and that's how the process that is done that brought you everything you have.
I love it. I love it. Well, Gail, it is time for us to go to break. But before we do, can you remind everyone, please, what is the title of your book? Where can we get a copy? And how do we stay in contact with you?
Well, the title of the book is Advancing in Enlightenment, the Crash Course. It's available on Amazon or my website, advancinginenlightenment.com. And if you Google it, all kinds of spots come up where you can purchase it. And to get in contact on my website, there's this place that says Contact Me.
I love it. Alrighty, everyone. Now you know where you can get a copy of the book. We'll be back right after this. And we are back. Thank you so much for spending time with me here on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. You know who I am. But my guest today is Gail Knox, and we're talking with her about her book, Advancing in Enlightenment, the Crash Course. I know that I am enjoying my conversation with you today, Gail, and I'm so glad that you are on and you are enlightening our listeners today. My next question for you is, can you explain a little bit about, now you don't have to give it all away because you listeners, you know I'm going to say you have to buy a copy of the book to get it all, but can you explain a little bit more about Chapter 4? You talk about the heart being the most powerful electromagnetic generator found on the planet. I would love for you to give us just a nibble more about that.
Well, I explain its form, that being likened to an energetic donut, and that it pulses at 186,300 miles per second, which that speed of light travels at 186,000 miles per second. So you can see that generator has got some power to it. But what you don't see is the communication that's taking place. Whenever you come within 8 feet of another person, those hearts are already talking to each other with those pulses. When you meet someone new, and you usually can get a general feeling about them, that's because the hearts have been talking and both immediately know each other's secrets. There can be no lies. Your heart has already made a decision based on what it learned, whether you fall in love or run the other way. Your heart played a part in that. The Institute of Heart Math has found over 40,000 sensory neurites in the heart, which are brain-like cells that think, deduce, have memory, and converse much like that of the brain. This allows you to have internal dialogue with yourself and decision-making processes. You can argue with yourself from different points of view, but you should always follow your heart. It will never lead you to wrong action. Your heart is the seat of your soul, and pieces of the Creator's DNA sits there, ever shining a light. Surround yourself with things you love. Do things you love. Spend time with things you love. Don't have anyone, if you don't have anyone, get a pet. They'll look at you through the eyes that shine with unconditional love, and it's important to express love. So just do it. Just do it.
I love that. That is an appropriate just do it. I love it. Now, what sets your book apart from just reading other books that are on the shelves? There's always that one person who's going to say, what makes your book so special? So to that person, how would you explain the difference between your book and another?
Well, for one thing, I put the most profound teachings from all the books that I've read into one. But really what sets it apart is that I've added my personal life experiences so people can assimilate how a strong spiritual connection can affect you in a day-to-day life. I was talking to my sister the other day, and she was upset about something she saw on the news. She asked me, how do I get over bad news and back to feeling good? And I told her I wasn't even aware of any bad news. And she asked me how that was possible. And I said, well, you know my intention for safe travel that I use every time I get in my car? Well, there's a sentence in there that goes like this. It is my dominant intent to see only that which I'm wanting to see that brings joy, happiness, health, wealth, peace, love, prosperity, and abundance into my life now and for all times. For I exist in a universe of well-being. It flows right to my door and carries me along through life in total and complete well-being. And so it is as it is so. And then I told her, my husband and I were out and about, and he saw something that was really bad. And he turns to me and he says, did you see that? That was awful. And I said, no, I missed it. He said, how could you miss that? And I said, well, I wasn't looking that way. He got really huffy, and he said, you live in La La Land. So now whenever I don't see something, he says, I live in La La Land. And my sister said, I want to live in La La Land. We were just laughing. But it's those personal experiences in my book that really does the teaching. The channels all say words don't teach. You can only truly learn something by experiencing it yourself. And I tried to do that in my book.
Oh, I love that. And, you're right. When people share personal stories, I think it really does help you not only connect to that person, but it connects to the story within you as well. You see that you're not alone, that you're not the only person who has gone through that, be it that it was something amazing or it was something that was pretty yucky. You're glad to know that they made it through so you can make it through, or you made it through and you can inspire someone else to have the energy to keep moving forward. I love that. I love that. Now, from all that you have learned, is there one thing you think that seems to really stand out from the others, or is there one thing, the way I guess that I would say it is there anything that seems to shine brighter or brightest in your life when it comes to the lessons that you have learned along the way?
Well, Esther Hicks in Abraham's book, Asking It Is Given, there's segment intending is taught there, and that is giving an intention before you go into different parts of your day. Giving intent for something you want is super powerful. So with every phone call, every movement from place to place, and every situation and experience, before I make that first move, I give an intention for fantastic interactions and results for whatever comes up, and let it be fun. And I prepare and pave the way for best outcomes in every aspect of my life. And this is for the parents of young drivers. You don't have to run out and get accident forgiveness insurance if you just teach them to drive with an intention for safe travel. Abraham says it's only those who set no intent that find themselves crashing into one another. And that one's in my book, but I've added on to it since hearing Abraham's rampage. But I use sore standing in physical shoes, which you find on YouTube, where Abraham gives things that if spirit were in our shoes, they would do that every day. And the other one is that which happens to be the most powerful positive affirmation anyone could speak, and that's everything is always working out for me. Those work as if you were speaking magic words. That's the most powerful. Everything is always working out for me. That can change your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have to agree with you 100%. And it's so funny, two things. You just talked about setting an intention for the day. I just wrapped up with a speaking engagement that I did, and the lady asked, what are 3 things that we should do every day? And that was one of the things that I mentioned. You must set an intention. We also need to ask God, what would He like for us to do as well? But if we don't set an intention, we've, in my humble opinion, we have wasted the opportunity that day gave us to be, to do, to give, to share, to just be our best. I love that answer. set an intention. I have to agree that is so incredibly important.
Yeah, that's affected my life the most.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And we get these beautiful moments with God throughout our day. I remember I was telling someone, when I'm really, really, really in a rush, or I really need to kind of get in and get out of a store, sometimes, when I'm in the parking lot, I'll go, Lord, I really need a parking space that's up close. I really need a short line, and it will happen. And it's like, Lord, thank you so much. And I'm able to get in and get out. And people are like, are you really having like a hallelujah moment over that? And I'm going, yes. He heard my very simple, humble prayer. Lord, please help me, get in and out really quickly. Someone else is depending on me, later down the line. And I see that as just those little ways of, Father God saying, I hear you, here you go, be safe, and go about your way. So you are so right. I love that. Now, my last question.
That's so funny.
For you, and it's like, listen, I don't take anything for granted, because I'm the type of person, I like to park a little further away so I can get my steps in. I don't mind doing that, and especially like if I'm riding with my son and he has a big old, Dodge Ram truck, so we have to park far away anyway. So that's a beautiful thing. But there are those occasions where it's like, I really don't have time to park, way away. Please let me get somewhere close, or a short line, or let me find what I'm looking for. Let it be there. And it really is nice to know that it's like your angels are making a way, they're clearing the path for you, and it's like, thanks God, and then I can do those other things. So it's like awesome having that
exactly it.
Of gratitude. I love it. Now, this has been I have enjoyed my time with you so much today, and I want to give you just a minute or so to leave us with any final words or bits of wisdom. If I didn't ask a particular question of you, what is a bit of wisdom that you would like to leave with our listeners today?
Well, just that you are never alone. When Spirit came with that first breath, it is there with you every moment of every day, listening, participating, helping you, guiding you, showing you, loving you, adoring you. It's aware of you, inspiring you, uplifting you, anything that you need. And I heard a Abraham Rampage on YouTube the other day, and the girl was talking about curling. They were watching something, and Esther Hicks turned around and saw this woman swiping the snow away so that this curling thing could just go on. And she goes, that's what Spirit does. Because it clears the way so that when you get there, you can just flow through life. And it was so funny, but that's the truth. Spirit is there paving the way for you and always guiding you and always helping you and never far from you.
Oh, I love it. I love it because there's so much that's going on when you watch curling. It has to be just the right friction, not too much, not too little, just enough pressure, a little to the left, a little to the right, faster, slower. I mean, it's amazing. For people who are going like, curling, what are they talking about? You have to Google it. It's an amazing sport. And it is so right that is exactly what our spiritual lives are like. I love it. Such beautiful words of wisdom. And Gail Knox, thank you so much for spending time with me here today. But before I let you go, can you remind everyone one last time, what is the title of your book? Where can we get a copy? And, of course, how do we stay in contact with you?
Well, the title of the book is Advancing in Enlightenment, the Crash Course. You can find it on Amazon. If you go to Google and put in Advancing in Enlightenment, it comes up all over the place and everywhere you can buy it. And it's on my website, advancinginenlightenment.com. And there's also on my website a spot that says Contact Me.
I love it. Thank you again, Gail, for spending time with me here today on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela.
Thank you. I just enjoyed this time with you.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it with you as well. And listeners, thank you for spending time with us as well. You could have been anywhere, but you chose to spend it with us, and for that, I appreciate you. As always, may the Lord continue to shine his face upon you. May you receive his grace and his mercy in all that you do. Until next time, everyone, remember, you are blessed in the Lord. Have a great day, everyone. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Butchester. You know what I like to do on my show. I want to enlighten you. I want to inspire you. I want to empower you to become your best self. Now, Scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And today we want you fired up about music. My guest today is Randy Seedorff, and we're talking about his project, Begin Again. You know what I'm going to tell you to do. Go on, get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee or get your tea, because we are about to get started. Good morning, Randy. Thank you so much for joining me here on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela.
Well, thank you, Dr. Angela. I appreciate the opportunity to be on the radio with you today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining me. Now, as is our tradition here, we always give our guests an opportunity to introduce themselves to the few people out there that may be unfamiliar with you or with your music. So my first question to you is, what makes you, you?
Well, I'm a pastor and a worship pastor from Kansas City, Missouri, and I've been a musician and an artist for over 30 years now. And I started when I was very young, probably about 11 years old, playing with my mother, who was a country music artist. My uncle was also a country music artist, too, so it kind of got in my blood at a young age. And so I started writing songs as a teenager and recording in my 20s, and I think this is project number 4 that we're getting ready to do now. But I've been playing regionally and internationally now for many years now, and enjoy being an artist. I enjoy writing songs, and I enjoy the fellowship of going out and playing music.
Absolutely. And I can definitely understand how you say that music is in your blood. I definitely understand that. Now, the title of your most recent project, Begin Again, how did you come about that title?
Well, I think everybody goes through phases in their life. And it's kind of like going out, if you were surfing, and you catch a wave and you ride that wave to the shore, and then you have to paddle out and start over again. And each phase of ministry, I guess, in our life has a season. It has a beginning and an end. And for me, this is a new season of my life. And so I went back to my roots and started thinking about my childhood, and that's where this project came from, Begin Again.
Definitely. I can understand that. And, you know, I tell people all the time that life is exactly what we make it, right? That we read that quote or we see that meme from time to time, but it really is true that we should try to create beautiful memories every day. You know, when we're in situations like we are now with COVID and we're not able to go out and about as much as we would like, but we have those moments to kind of sit down, reminisce, and say, do you remember when I can't wait when we can again, you know, and be able to share those memories and have those nostalgic good feelings pop up again. I love that. I love that. Now, what role has faith played in your life? You mentioned that you were a pastor, but you're also a musician. So needless to say, it's important, but was there a particular moment where it really kind of struck you, wait a minute, my faith is important?
I had a time in my life back in the early 90s when I wasn't living for the Lord, and I had an armed robbery experience during that time. some guys broke into the restaurant where I was working. I was in the hospitality industry, and I ended up tied up on the floor. They were getting ready to take my life. And so I had this moment when I was, just reaching out to God, and I was repenting, and I was just saying, Lord, I'm sorry for the life that I've been living, and I asked for his forgiveness, and he just poured into my life, and that was a brand new start for me, that moment right there. And there was a honk on the horn of the getaway car, and they left without taking my life, and I got a new life in the Lord that day. And so God gave me a purpose, and that was to be a messenger with him through music. I call myself a musicianary. So that's my life now.
I like that. What an amazing story. Oh, my goodness. And I'm so glad that you have taken advantage of this second chance, of this, beginning again that the Lord has given to you. I tell you, sometimes people don't understand the gift of life and what we are allowed to do every morning when we wake up. But I think you have definitely figured it out. Oh, my goodness, what a story. Now, one of your singles is entitled Family Tree, like the title. What has been your reaction, or what feedback have you been getting from that?
Well, it's really been positive. Actually, last week, Firefest in the United Kingdom, it is a group of Methodist churches in northern England. They do a festival every year. Actually, in 2019, I got to go over and lead worship in the cities of northern England. But they played our video during Firefest, and so we got a lot of feedback internationally. It went out to multiple countries, Africa, and Central Europe, and it's about the stages that we have in our life. I think for me, seeing with my family when I was young, the birth of my son, and of course the moment that I accepted Christ, those were big events in my life. And that's what the song is written about. Those moments they're etched in my memory. They're carved on my family tree. So
I like it. I like it. Wow, you're so right. It is those things. Leaving that legacy is so important. I love it. I love it. Now, for so many artists, where they grew up makes a difference in how they view life. It doesn't matter if you are a Midwesterner, a Southerner, West Coast, or you're from the East Coast. There's a little bit of something that makes us simply where we were raised. Do you think that because you are a Midwesterner that has had an effect on how you view life and how you're able to process the way that you share your music?
Well, I absolutely think so. Being from the Midwest, I grew up in Kansas City. Actually, my folks farmed up in northeast Iowa before we moved to Missouri. And so, Midwest values, and I think that was good. It seems like a lot of the trends in our society start on the coasts, and then they move their way to the Midwest. So we kind of got things a little bit later here in the Midwest, but I think just family values and growing up in the Midwest really helped me have a good foundation in my life. I had strong family around me, and I think that really helped me write good songs. I think there's a great music culture here in the Midwest. Kansas City is the home of Kansas City Jazz. It's the 18th and Vine district. It's also a big bluegrass center of the United States. So lots of acoustic music. There's some really good musicians like Brewer and Shipley that are from here, some of the great duos. So, yeah, the Midwest was a great place to grow up and be a songwriter, and a good place to get started.
Absolutely. I know some really great folks that are from the Midwest, so I have to agree with you there. Now, with COVID being in the way of us traveling and doing as much as we would like as in years past, I understand that for many artists, they have to think differently about their plans, where you plan to be on the road or, just going around doing events. What is on the agenda for you for the remainder of 2021, considering, again, COVID's in the way? Are you still able to plan to get out there and do some meet and greets with folks?
Well, I'm trying to put together something for this summer. I'd like to do a release party for our album this summer when people can actually be there. There are some live venues in Kansas City that are operating, but with social distancing, and so there is some opportunity out there. But it looks like a lot of our opportunity right now, because of COVID-19, is going to live stream, and so there's a lot of those things going on right now. A lot of Vivo, and people are just trying to transition so that they can stay connected with their fans, stay connected with the people that they follow, that follow them, and they're just having to find creative ways to do that. I would like to do a tour this summer, but it's just really limited opportunities right now.
Absolutely. And, you're right. I have attended, some of those virtual concerts that people have done. And I tell folks, sure, it's not what we would have wanted, but it's better than nothing at all. And you do get to at least see your artist, you get to experience some new music, and it's like, it won't be like this forever. So me trying to always, stay as positive as I can, it's like, well, I would rather have this than have nothing at all. But you're right, trying to find your way is quite challenging sometimes, but I agree with you. Do those virtual events. At least you get a piece of you as opposed to nothing at all. Well, Randy, thank you so much for spending time with us here today and stopping by for a while to share your new project with our listeners. But before I let you go, please remind everyone of the title of your project, where we can get a copy, and, of course, how do we stay in contact with you?
Well, the name of our new project is called Begin Again. My name is Randy Seedorff, and you can find a lot of information on our webpage at randyseedorff.com. Our new EP is due out in 3 weeks. You can find our single, which just released, Family Tree, on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, Deezer, iTunes, Amazon Music, YouTube, and Pandora. And when our EP releases, you'll be able to get the full record on all of those digital platforms as well.
I love it. So if you're happening to you didn't catch this live on radio, but you're listening to this on one of those streaming platforms you just mentioned, hop on over and find his project. We're on those platforms. He's on those platforms. Look at God make it easy for you. That was absolutely beautiful. I love it. Thank you again, Randy, for spending time with us here on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela.
Well, thank you again for having me on, Dr. Angela, and I look forward to talking to you again sometime soon.
Absolutely. And listeners, thank you for spending time with us here as well. As always, may the Lord continue to shine his face upon you. May you receive his grace and his mercy in all that you do. Until next time, everyone, remember that you are blessed in the Lord. Have a great day, everyone.